It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, fried chicken, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Colonel Chris Dillard.
Oh, and my name is Mike Sweet Lightning Royer.
Ooh, that's a good one. And this week, we're getting our KFC on. We're kidding. That was what we were talking about before we started the show. We're getting our Doctor Strange tickets this week. You cannot get those at KFC. You have to go somewhere
unfortunately.
else. No. Star Wars Celebration set some panels, and we'll talk about what that means for everything. Ezra Miller might be on pause for Warner Brothers. He's not canceled yet.
If we did sound effects on this podcast, that's when you put the jail cell door sound effect whenever we say Ezra Miller's name.
Exactly. It's never good news with him. And more.
Yeah, I do realize now, Chris, that if we were able to get regular sponsors for the podcast, our intro is just ripe for plugging a sponsor.
Right? I mean, it's literally the best. Like, we have this written down, but there's so much room for riffing and improv here on the show. We're an and kind of podcast, if you will, for that. But I'm literally here. I was telling Mike, you can hear that. My KFC Sweet Lightning. It's my favorite Mountain Dew flavor, and I'm hoping to try the blackberry one at Buffalo Wild Wings later this evening. So if you guys have any fancy flavored drinks you like, let us know, because we love us a good food gimmick along the way.
Yeah, we're extra fried right now because we both unplanned went to Outback Steakhouse this weekend. Yes. Chris made the healthy choice and got some sort of, I'm sure, healthy lean chicken.
Yes.
And I got the blooming onion.
I'm so jealous. My envy.
It was delicious. Well, I never got to finish everything that we ate because we went all out because my wife really likes the Aussie cheese fries, which is just fries with cheese melted on top of it. So not only do we get a bloomin' onion, but we got cheese fries. And then we were excited because this was the first time that we had ever gotten like leftovers from kind of like a restaurant with fried food where we also own an air fryer. So we were like psyched because we were just like, oh hell yeah, we can reheat this stuff and have a semblance of what it tasted like at the restaurant. And actually what we found out is the fries reheat pretty well in the air fryer, I would say, but the bloomin' onion, I feel like it almost encapsulates like pizza vibes, where we liked the blooming onion almost better cold than when it was reheated in the air fryer. So just a tip out there for you folks. If you're taking a little bit of bloomin' onion home, I think it's pretty good just right out of the fridge.
Did it dry up in the air fryer? The bloomin' onion, if you would.
It got much browner for sure, and it was released. It was as oily as a teenager's face when I pulled it out of that air fryer. I put it right onto paper towel the second it got out.
So my tip for reheating pizza, which I don't do very often because I love me some cold pizza right out of the fridge. Half glass of water in with the pizza. For some reason, when you heat it with the water, it keeps in the microwave.
In the microwave? Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, where's this water going?
Yeah, I'm just dumping it right onto the pizza. No, I'm kidding. Half glass of water.
Sloppy pizza, slop it up, boys.
Because it apparently, instead of just drying everything out more, it keeps like the moisture in with the food and prevents it from like over drying.
There's something onto this. If we want to continue to riff and just like take a beeline from what we're supposed to talk about, there's a person on TikTok that shows up in my For You page all the time that has some sort of interesting toaster. Like, it's a toaster oven, like, you know, it's like a monolithic, you know, rectangle on their countertop, but there's a little spout on the top of it where you pour like, you know, like a little like teaspoon or tablespoon of water into the spout before you put like your toast in it or whatever. So I guess it's kind of like a humidity toaster, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't get it. I've never looked it up, but if anybody knows what the hell that is, let me know. Why are people putting like little teaspoons of water in the top of their toaster ovens? There's a hole there for it. I'm not just saying go ahead and throw water in your toaster oven, but
yeah. Don't do that, or don't make toast in the bathtub either. That's the other.
What's the disclaimer? This podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes, very much so. We are not professionals, but we play ones on the podcast. So yeah, I mean it's we haven't talked about food in a while, and I think this is a good opportunity to talk about our food stuff.
I ate a caffeinated donut. I
did.
told Chris I've been looking for this for a while. I believe it's Hostess that makes it. They're donuts with 50 to 70 milligrams of caffeine in it, because that's what the label says. I've literally never eaten caffeine before, so I was telling Chris, like, maybe they lose some caffeine during the baking process, but they can never truly know how much they lose. But the donuts were pretty good. You'll like them a lot more if you like kind of mocha coffee adjacent flavors, because that's how these donuts are made, because there's a little label on the front that says, like, caffeine equal to 1 cup of coffee. So it's kind of supposed to jive with your morning Java, if you will. But yeah, if you've never had a chance to eat caffeine before, I know caffeine as a substance is kind of inherently bitter, which is why a lot of soft drinks are like extra sweetened to counteract the bitterness.
Yeah.
But I didn't really taste any bitterness. I mean, I can't think of anything with more sugar than a donut in it. So if you come across a caffeinated Hostess donut, give it a shot. It was fun. Not if you're pregnant or under the age of 18, I think is what the label said.
Yeah.
But like we said, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Exactly. The other thing we tried this week, we both tried the Nitro Pepsi in the vanilla flavor. So this is a Pepsi you buy. It comes in 4-pack of cans, right? You got a 4-pack as well? Or
mine was single serving. If you have like a convenience store or gas station, you might be able to buy them singularly.
You want it cold, and you want to pour this in a glass. This isn't a Pepsi you drink out of a can, despite...
Oh, and pay attention to the can, because it says pour hard.
Pour hard. This thing pours like a Guinness, folks. If you're familiar with the thickness of Guinness, the nitro bubbles, it is just pure creaminess. I haven't tried the regular yet. They have a regular Pepsi, but we both tried the vanilla, and we're not Pepsi drinkers either of us, I think. So just having a hit of Pepsi with vanilla, this very, very thick foamy top to it, and just the creamy, like, smaller nitro bubbles in it. It just tastes like a whole new drink, and it's very, very good. I think we both agree we really like this.
Yeah, we got to get a PO box so we can tell Pepsi and KFC where to send the checks to. And now that I think about it,
they're the same company, aren't they?
Yeah, that they're the same corporate overload. So it's easy, just one check from one place, please.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take it no matter what it is. Maybe send us your new flavors before they hit the shelves, right? Isn't there like we talked about the Pixel Coke coming out in early May that's coming up. This apparently tastes like the metaverse, whatever that tastes like. and then Pepsi they had another Pepsi coming up. I forget what it was. And then Dr. Pepper is doing another, I believe, point-based drink you can order. But anyway, we love our stuff. Please send us drinks. We need drinks. But anyway, let's get into the show, Mike. We've rambled here. We've yes and for almost too long. So tell me a little bit about you've got 2 topics. And then your third one that you've been watching is definitely something I've been living with you, and I love every minute of it. So let's talk about the Deadeyes podcast.
Yeah, these are all basically follow-ups to things I've been talking about on the podcast for the last couple of weeks. That'll be kind of making their final appearance until either another season rolls around or they announce that it's all done. But I finally finished the Deadeyes podcast, all about Connor Ratliff, who was fired by Tom Hanks when he was cast in Band of Brothers for having quote-unquote dead eyes. So I finally got around to the episode 31 that features the titular Tom Hanks, and I won't spoil anything, but it was fantastic. To listen to close to like 30 hours of content all about this one specific event that happened, to finally get kind of like the suspect, or I guess witness number 1 on the top of your list to come on and talk about it. It was just fantastic, and Tom Hanks really lives up to the whole vibe of kind of being everybody's dad, America's dad, if you will, the world's dad. So
the uncancelable Tom Hanks.
yeah. Well, hopefully, let's hope it stays that way for sure. But yeah, the Deadeyes podcast, super high recommend. Just wanted to come back and follow up and say satisfying conclusion to that arc. They kind of left it open-ended if he's going to continue the podcast now that kind of the mystery is solved in a way. So I don't know if he's going to pivot the kind of stuff that he talks about, but Deadeyes podcast, go give it a listen.
Okay.
But here we go, folks. This is the big one for me. That just really hit me hard on Friday, and that is the season finale of Severance. I've brought it up a couple times on the podcast. You gotta go watch Severance. I don't care how you get onto Apple Plus. I don't care if you pirate this show. I don't care what you do. You just gotta go watch it, because this show, I'm very confident it's gonna be like the next show to watch. It's gonna be it. Like, everybody remembers like Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones. Like, in that first season, that's just when the waters were starting to bubble, right? It was that second season, third season when everybody was talking about it. That's what's gonna happen to Severance.
Is this my next Westworld, Mike?
It is amazing, and I have really not been engaging with a lot of the fandom, because this show, it begs for theories, right? You know, everybody has a theory about this show of what all of these different components could be doing, and I don't want to know theories. I don't want to hear theories, because with the amount of people out there on the internet, the odds are someone is right when it comes to their theory, right? You know, it's just a bunch of monkeys in a room on a typewriter. You know, eventually they're going to write Shakespeare. Eventually all these monkeys are going to get, like, the theory right of Severance, and then I'll just be less surprised eventually, like, when the mystery is solved. But Ben Stiller has been, like, directing every episode. They're beautiful. They're amazing. The cast is awesome. Adam Scott's everybody is great in this show. You got to watch it. And the finale, man, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it does one of those things where it's just like you're just waiting for this one character to make a specific realization. And there's like this ticking clock going through the whole last episode. And just when the episode's about to end, when you think, is he not going to make it? Is he not going to notice? He gets there, and then it cuts to black, and it was it's one of those things where it's so satisfying, but then also you're just craving the next season. So, man, I'm gonna have to wait till 2023 to more than likely to get more of this. But luckily, it's been renewed. It was renewed for season 2 before earlier in the week. So,
it was like the day before they were like season 2 confirmed, and that way I think like people wouldn't know how the ending was going to be, kind of thing. So
I mean, I've loved every episode of it, but I have seen some people say that the first episode is a little slow. I didn't feel that way, but now that they're all out, you can just binge them all the way through. I was happy to see some celebrities that I really like on Twitter were talking about the show after it ended on Friday. So it's starting to pick up some like steam. I just don't think a lot of people know about it because it's on Apple Plus, which is not the most pervasive streaming network.
Well,
so
they are an Academy Award winning service now.
That's true. So keep your eye out. Go watch Severance. It's great. It's amazing. I loved it. A lot of familiar faces. You're going to have a great time. Big recommendation. Apparently they say the F word a lot, though. Chris, you let me know that. There's some sort of weird third-party service out there that lets you filter out things from TV shows.
And then it literally edits the show for you. So like you can like watch without the profanity or violence or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Which is actually, when I think about it, I suppose if maybe you had like a younger teen, maybe if the show was kind of censored swear-wise, they might be able to watch it because it's more psychological than anything in a good way. So I don't use that service. It's dumb. Don't censor other people's art like that. That'd be really stupid. Well, just wait till the kid gets older.
Disney, and I believe Hulu, before it was completely owned by Disney, sued them a couple years ago for doing such a thing. So it's interesting to hear if it's, I don't know if it'll ever come back or what like that, but like they can't do it on Disney and Hulu, but Apple TV hasn't gotten onto them yet. So they were literally pushing Severance as like an example, which was why I had to send that to you, Mike. That way you knew they said the F word 8 times in the first episode or whatever it was I sent over to you.
So stay tuned. If you're a regular listener, set your clocks to about 52 weeks minus 9. So that'd be 43 weeks, right? Hopefully if it comes back literally the next year, which I feel like Apple's pretty good at that, of turning things around. So we'll be talking about this in another year, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
But Severance, go watch it. It's amazing.
So tell me about your new favorite series, Mike, your new favorite franchise that you're just now getting to.
Yes, if I had to pivot extremely hard here, I'm working my way through the Resident Evil series, which Chris is very familiar with, and anytime anything ridiculous happens, I make sure to text him and let him know. And wow, the tonal shift between the first Resident Evil movie and the rest of the franchise. It rivals anything that the Fast and Furious has ever thrown at you.
Did I not? I mean, did I not call that exactly? I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Like, it's funny because Mike's texting me. I have no way to get on the internet when he's texting me, like, to check this out in the middle of the day. But I know exactly where he is and at what moment he's doing it, because I remember watching these growing up. I'm like, I didn't play the Resident Evil games, to be candid, but like I watched the movies and I was like, I'm literally looking forward to him going along this ride from one to the next, because they are not very cohesive overall.
It's so wild. It feels like there was a conscious conversation that happened between 1 and 2 where a bunch of creative stakeholders sat down and decided, okay, we did a really good job with the first one. People really love the movie that we put together. Let's do something entirely different that they haven't signed on for, and just let's see how it works. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, they made a bunch of these, to bar my F word that we were talking about with the last topic. But holy crap. It's in like I think the real shining moment of when I knew that what I was in for is, props to them for bringing in the character of Jill Valentine in the second movie, right? But they dress her exactly like her video game character that's created from a Japanese society. So she just kind of looks like mediocre cosplay when she's on the film screen. Usually you're looking for a little bit of extra when you're on the screen. And then her first thing that she does in the movie is she busts into like a police station, and she headshots perfectly all of these zombies going crazy, and then she has some sort of ridiculous one-liner after she says that. I'm like, oh my god, what am I watching? Like, everybody's John Wick in these movies now. They can all shoot everything in the head perfectly, like even while they're going down like a zip line or something like that. It's wild, it's hilarious, it's intentional and unintentional.
It's off the chain, to put it nicely. Like, it literally, like, they were just like, we have a good thing going here, let's just go with the next thing. But what's worse for me is you've literally typed the titles in here, Mike. Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction. They don't do the numbering system. They literally choose a word that means the end of things, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't tell you which one's 2 and which one. If you looked at these in a row, you'd have to literally pull up a Wikipedia page to know what's next.
You have to go on IMDb, type in Resident Evil, and look at the release dates, because that's what I have been doing. And there is not only is there a huge tonal shift between 1 and 2, there's this wacky time shift between 2 and 3, where in the span between those movies, it's like another movie happened. Like, I was literally trying to look it up. I was like, oh, did they do like a comic book or something that connects the plot between 2 and 3? Because there's this huge, massive jump of like, oh, Raccoon City is kind of like nuked. We are supposed to believe that the whole incident was covered up by the Umbrella Corporation and things are going on as usual, and humanity is still alive. And then there's just this preamble at the beginning of 3 where they tell you society has collapsed. The T-virus has touched everything living. Even plants are dying now. Everything's a desert wasteland. And it just makes me think the only way that they could get the production budget to shoot 3 is if they told them you have to shoot in a desert. So they just wrote a script that made the most sense of why they're shooting in a desert.
So, yeah, and... I mean, let's say here, none of these connect to each other very, very cohesively either. The first one, she's just a person, right, who survived the underground. And 2, she, at the end of it, I mean, spoiler alert, folks, you're not gonna. She takes a helicopter blade to the chest, right, like, and somehow survives that. And then the third one, she's got unexplainable psychic powers.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm working my way through the third one right now. She just destroyed her own motorcycle with her mind on accident when she was sleeping. There is a ridiculous scene of zombie crows in the second one. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen put to film, because you can only take it so seriously watching people run away from birds. I understand there is a very iconic scary movie from Alfred Hitchcock where I'm sure back then people were more scared of birds.
Yeah.
Nobody's scared of birds anymore in a flock.
No one's scared of bad CGI zombie birds in a flock.
Oh my god, it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
So I will keep everybody updated as I move through this, much like the Underworld films. But it is crazy how similar these movies are. Like, I haven't looked them up on a timeline, but I feel like back in the day, these movies were coming out every other year. Like, one year you could get an Underworld movie, the next year you get a Resident Evil movie. They all have they all do the exact same story mechanic of flashing back to clips from the previous movies. And they even kind of have like a quote unquote like previously on at the beginning of each movie. So they were really, really treating their audience like a bag of hammers.
Well, they were treating it like
spoon feeding you everything.
This is a really bad zombie TV show we're going to be feeding you instead, is what it feels like. Because, I mean, I will say, by the third Underworld, which actually was the one where they did a prequel, Resident Evil never did a prequel, thank God. They just do it in the actual movies while you're moving forward. But I've got so many questions as you move forward, and I love the text messages I get because I'm like, I know exactly where he is right now. I remember this scene being so bad it's stuck in my mind for decades.
Yeah, and it's usually just like ridiculous keywords like zombie crows, like in all caps, or there's this hilarious plot in the third movie now where the Umbrella scientists are trying to bring zombies back to life, but they can't give them back their humanity, but they become a quote-unquote docile workforce. And it's just like, this is what they did in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
They just turned them into cart corral zombies.
Exactly. And I think it was like one thing, I'm like, you said something, I'm like, Las Vegas, right? And you're like, yes. Like, because...
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the Vegas portion of the third one yet, but I know it's supposed to be in it because of the movie poster.
Right.
They have it in the background, but once it gets there, I mean, how do I not directly compare it to Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead?
I forgot you'll know why there's a difference when you get to Vegas in this movie. But I totally forgot. In the second one, I'm like, you're going to get to a part in a church, Mike, and you need to text me when you're in the church.
Oh my God. Mila Jovovich arrives on scene, Deus Ex Machina style, on a motorcycle through the stained glass window, written as if a 17-year-old in the AV club jotted it down on paper.
Yes.
She lands perfectly, does like a 180, jumps off the motorcycle while revving it. So the motorcycle, in turn, rockets at the little slimy monster.
Yep.
And inexplicably, the monster and the motorcycle jut up into the air. I'm not even sure the physics of how. I don't know if there was an altar that propels them both into the air, and then she shoots it with a gun, and of course it explodes. And it's like, what am I watching?
This is the same creature not 15 minutes before in the end of the first movie was the big bad of the first movie.
Yeah, she had to like destroy. She needed a train to destroy it.
Yeah, so now she's like, oh, I blew it up with grace and poise to show you how far she's moved along in this universe.
It's character development. It's storytelling. It's art.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Wow. Okay, Chris, enlighten us about something a little bit more bright and childlike wonder.
So we'll move along. So Lego Star Wars: A Skywalker Saga released this week, and I was able to play some of it. I've beaten 2 levels. Now, when you get this game, you automatically get access to 3 of the 9 movies, and you either can play 1, 4, or 7, meaning that you have to start there and unlock the next 2 chapters by playing through that saga, right? So you either play the prequels, the originals, or the sequel trilogies. You can play them. You can actually choose any one of those 3. I am actually doing them in order from 1 through 9 is the way I'm going to play it. So I played Phantom Menace, and I've beaten Attack of the Clones, and now I'm going to move on to Revenge of the Sith. And I will tell you, this game is just absolutely so much fun. The visuals are like photorealistic in the background, but while you're like moving these very hyper realistic Lego characters. One of the cool things is their new fighting abilities, like with Jedi and stuff like that, is akin to actually. Do you remember the Arkham games for Batman? Mm-hmm. So you can like chain stuff together. You can press Y to counter attack stuff. It's been really fun. You can throw your lightsaber. That's something you get right out the gate. And then there's just over 300 characters to unlock. And I've moved my way through this. The space levels are fun. The end of episode 1 where you get to fly the Naboo starship to blow up the droid controlled ship.
Would you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does it take, since it's essentially 9 movies that you get to play through? How long does it take to beat like a movie? Is it kind of equivalent to how long it takes to watch the movie? Yeah,
I would say about 2 hours, 2.5 for a level.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought about that before, because usually when you're turning like a video game, a movie into a video game, right, you kind of got to stretch it a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. You hit like major set pieces through the film, but also you add in components between like different different areas. But yeah, if you're stacking one whole game with 9 movies, it would actually be kind of interesting to be like, oh, you're just playing through the movie.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're not adding a whole lot extra because they got plenty of material to mine just straight from the film.
Yeah, and a lot of the levels, like in episode 1, when you go to Mos Espa, right, where he meets Anakin for the first time, like that's pretty quick. But like that whole Mos Espa, like there's so many hidden blocks and so much things to do in the Mos Espa like area marketplace. Like that's like something I need to come back to with more characters with abilities later under free play. So it's been fun to kind of go through that. One of my favorite levels, you actually do the pod racing with Legos, which was really fun. And then in the second one, you actually get to chase down Jango Fett and Boba Fett with Obi-Wan through the asteroid field, right? Like where they're leaving the depth charges, which was really fun. So I'm really enjoying the ship ones more so than the character levels right now. Not that they're bad, they're just like I need to beat these and come back with more characters to unlock more stuff later.
You got to let me know when you get to The Last Jedi if there is like a kamikaze-esque gameplay mechanic, and if they kind of recreate that Rian Johnson kind of iconic look.
Yeah.
With going to light speed through a destroyer.
Yeah.
I gotta know what that looks like in Lego.
It's really the Lego leans into the humor, the absurdity of it. Like the end of episode 1 where Qui-Gon gets stabbed. Technically in the game, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon beat quote unquote beat Darth Maul by cutting him in half, but like it's a Lego, so literally you just pull the top off, right? So the top half of Darth Maul bounces up and stabs Qui-Gon through the chest, and then Obi-Wan just picks up, just ends up kicking his like live half down the shaft kind of thing. It's really really funny. But yeah, some of them are longer pieces, like the Darth Maul fight. It's not just the doors and then the scene. Like there's more to that level. There's some verticality through it to make it last a little longer, because it does skip over some of like the boring parts of some of the things. Like
I mean, you're really selling it to me, honestly. I haven't really played a whole lot of Lego video games, but this seems like something that maybe around the time when I get to beating Elden Ring, maybe this game will probably be on sale. Maybe I'll be able to pick it up for like $30 or something.
Yeah, it's really really fun. It skips the entire Naboo love scene with Anakin and Padme in the second.
No,
I know. But he like I think he has a nightmare. Like when he has a nightmare about his mom dying or whatever. They're sleeping in him and Padme are in a bunk bed, and he's on the bottom, and he wakes up and hits the top of the bunk bed. And she's like, he's like, I had a nightmare, and she's like, was there sand? Like kind of like poking at it, like the fact that he hates sand. So it's really really funny, and the voice acting, it's a lot of I believe the Clone Wars voice actors, so if you're familiar with those, it really harkens to that. But I'm excited to unlock General Grievous. I'm very excited to see what a character with 4 lightsabers does. So that's why I'm kind of working my way through these and then getting to the later half. So I'll be coming back with these as I kind of play through the episodes. It's local multiplayer, 2-player as well, so if you've got someone who is not a normal, like my wife's not an Elden Ring gamer, but she likes the Lego games. She's been playing Spyro, so I'm like, we can play Lego together. It's a very good couch co-op game for someone else who enjoys it. So really recommend that. All right, we have killed half an hour, Mike. Let's jump into our news here. The biggest news this week: Doctor Strange tickets are now on sale everywhere.
Oh my gosh. This literally interrupted my sleep cycle because these dropped at 6 a.m. West Coast time.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I'll wake up, kind of earlier. I'm sure there'll still be tickets left around like 7 or 8 in the morning. And then I just happened to be up around 6:30, and I was like, my phone's right there. I might as well just get my tickets. And I'm glad I did, because my theater was starting to run out of the seats that I like to get at West Coast time around 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, how are these people awake? I don't usually associate the people that go see Doctor Strange on opening night with early risers, so I thought that was pretty fun.
Don't underestimate the power of an alarm clock on a very important day. I woke up. I actually it was 9 o'clock Eastern, so I was actually already up, and I was not at work that day. I had the day off, so I got up early. I watched Moon Knight before I did anything for the day. And then Moon Knight ended with 15 minutes before 9 o'clock, so I just happened to pull up my phone, and the tickets were already on sale in the app. So I had a good half hour over whenever the official email came out from AMC. So I was very excited to snag my favorite seat, my 2 favorite seats in the theater. I think only 2 other tickets have been sold. And this is saying something, because there have been more tickets for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness purchased the Batman tickets already. So
oh my gosh,
this is gonna be huge.
The discourse that the Batman has created is starting to harken back to like console war eras when your friends back in elementary school would argue if Xbox or PlayStation was better. And I start to see those conversations every once in a while on the internet where people are just like, Marvel fans can't possibly watch a movie without a joke every 10 seconds. They just don't understand the Batman. It's like, who is this argument for? I like all of the movies. The Batman was great. But I'm not surprised that something like Doctor Strange would, have more like pre-sales ready to go. I mean, it's still the MCU. We're continuing a storyline, and this is probably one of the more pivotal movies coming out in that storyline. If anything's ever followed up, No Way Home, well, it's going to be this movie, not Morbius, where they tried to tie it into the Spider-Verse a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this is a Marvel movie. Of course it's going to sell more than a reboot of Batman.
Exactly. And Doctor Strange has gathered such a fan base since his Infinity War appearance, right? Like, I wouldn't say if you just had the first Doctor Strange in this, anyone would care. But due to his appearance in Spider-Man and Infinity War, he's really gained a following with his, his abilities. Also, Sam Raimi returning to comic book movies after Spider-Man trilogy. Huge success.
If I'm doing my napkin math correctly, hasn't Doctor Strange been in 5 movies now? Been 5 movie appearances? His own movie. He was in Ragnarok. He was in the Infinity War and Endgame, and then Spider-Man. So unless I'm missing something, he's already been in 5 movies, and he's only had one himself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, and people, I don't think... I wouldn't say they sleep on the original Doctor Strange. It's just a different movie at a different time, right? That was the year we had Civil War and then Doctor Strange.
It just kind of falls into that origin, story category where
Exactly.
your origin movie is only going to be so good, right?
Yeah.
Once we left the first phase of Marvel, like the origin stories just had less and less punch every time.
Now, do you also consider What If an appearance, because it was Benedict Cumberbatch voicing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, if you're bringing up the topic just to say what is his kind of public perception out there in the world, I think you could count What If, because it's just another appearance of the character.
And people loved the episode that he had. It was one of the first 3, right, dedicated to Doctor Strange himself. Mm-hmm. And then also with Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch appearing in this, coming off the hit WandaVision last year, I believe that's also pushing ticket sales for fans of her.
Yeah, I would, if I had to make any wishes of some stuff that I'd see in the movie. I mean, obviously the whole council that has been teased is going to be a huge moment in the kind of just superhero franchise in general, because it seems like we're going to possibly be getting some connections from like X-Men. But I would love to see some sort of connection to Loki in some way. I don't have to see Tom Hiddleston, but like reference the chaos that was wrought when they killed Jonathan Majors at the end of that. Has that affected? Is that why this multiversal stuff is going out of whack? So hopefully we'll get a little bit of that.
There's been it's not just the Spider-Man spell, right, that did this. It's got to be it's got to be Wanda causing a reality bubble to appear. Loki doing this, the what if stuff, everything needs to tie into this, otherwise what's the point of them? I get it, Loki's great and it's gonna have a second season, but if there's no other point to that, quote unquote, fracturing the one timeline, then why even have that in there? Because it needs to affect the movies. And I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and also, we're always thinking like really high level of like, what does this mean for the MCU? But what is the emotional journey for Strange in this movie, right? Because that's honestly what these big movies are always about, like character. Like in No Way Home, it was all about how does Peter Parker, deal with becoming larger in life and affecting the family and friends around him, and what will he do to fix all of that? Well, he'll sacrifice everything to make his loved ones better. But I'm still curious, what is the emotional story in Doctor Strange? I guess it's kind of the same thing, right? Like how Mordo said in his last movie, the bill has now come due. So maybe it's now Doctor Strange has all of this untapped, unlimited power that's gone unchecked. So now he finally has to deal with what that is.
Yeah, I think also, Multiverse of Madness, we have the idea of crossing multiverses and the danger of that. But also, is the Scarlet Witch, is she a hero? Is she a villain in this? The trailers have kind of teased both ways, possibly. And again, trailers always have stuff we know that will never make the movie. Look at the entire Morbius trailers for recent memory. So, is the idea her chaos magic affecting this world as well? Like, what does he have to... heroes have to give up something. What is he going to have to give up to possibly quell chaos magic at the end of the day is one possibility here.
I'm curious also if we'll have any of those like small moments, like where we'll see like a monitor or a book or a scroll like in the background that maybe references the 10 Rings, or maybe maybe we see like Anubis or like a pyramid or something in the background, right? We'll talk a little bit about Moon Knight at the end of the episode here, but Moon Knight seems to be essentially magic or sorcery in some way. It's kind of like the unexplained other side of existence, right? So I feel like Doctor Strange could kind of do like a little point nod wink to that.
Yeah. And this is going to be huge. There's a lot at stake here, and not just because we have Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch and Sam Raimi. There's just so much happening here that we don't know, and I'm very excited to see what cool things that we always love talking about the Easter eggs, Mike. That's our biggest. That's our most fun part of all the reviews we do. Like, how does this connect? And I'm excited to talk about those. This movie is also estimated to make $205 million opening weekend, and you might be saying, "Now, what is that?" Well, Morbius did $40 million, so this would be 5 times Morbius money easily. So I think it'll be more. But what I did notice is there's no 3D sales going for this. Did you see that in your theaters? I didn't.
When I was booking my theater, there was at least a dozen 2D showtimes and like 3 showtimes for 3D. So this is really starting to show the decline of 3D viewings.
Yeah, exactly. So when they talk about inflated money, like, you won't have to worry about like, oh, this is all because of 3D ticket sales. So, but I'm excited. We are less than 4 weeks away from watching this. I'm just so excited, Mike. Very excited. Along the way, I know James Gunn is working on Guardians of the Galaxy. However, right now, you can get ready for the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride at Disney World. This was, I believe, one of the first Marvel rides at Disney World to date. Most of them are in Disneyland in California, and the other ones are at Universal in Florida. Did I say California? I meant Disneyland in California. Universal in Florida. So the first preview was kind of given here. What we noticed is that, this is not the main actors voicing this or acting in this, but it appears to be a fun ride of possibly rewinding time. It already has a pretty good soundtrack, right? The little jam going on there. I'm excited to go to Disney World to give this a try when it drops this summer.
Yeah. We were trying to decide if this promo is just trying to save some cash and couldn't quite get Bradley Cooper on the horn because it heavily features the voice of Rocket. Because the ride out here in California in Disneyland has the original cast visually and through the voice, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a pre-board for the Guardians ride out here where there is like an animatronic rocket that's up on the ceiling that talks to you. But I just don't remember the voice. I feel like it could have been Bradley Cooper. But if it wasn't, either way, the story behind Guardians of the Galaxy in Florida is just really funny to me, right? It's just like, the corporate loophole. Right, we gave all of these other characters to Universal on this like basically indefinite contract that we can't really undo. So now we're just going to use other characters that they don't have the rights for. So that's why you're seeing Guardians, which I just think it's creative but also kind of funny. But it seems to be a roller coaster, right?
Yes.
Like, is this supposed to be like Space Mountain style, like inside of a dark room, or is this like an outdoor type of roller coaster? I'm not sure.
It says it's a family thrill coaster. Which means it's probably, I would say, more akin to a maybe what's that, the test track than
maybe.
I don't know if they consider what was the first one you said, the indoor one?
Yeah, because
a family coaster.
you don't really get a whole lot of what the ride is in this little preview, right? But it seems to be very visual heavy.
There's a pod. The pods, I believe, make an end at the end of it, like that you're going to be in.
Yeah. So, and they seem to be visually put in space. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it was whatever it is. I'm sure it's going to be hopefully top notch.
I just know the other big thing about this one is it actually twists, turns, and blasts. So like the pod actually rotates around as you move, and like at some parts you go backwards, hence the rewind part, because you're traveling through time. I know Glenn Close filmed some scenes for this. It has to do with the Nova Corps, and there's an adult Groot here. So I believe this is set in before Guardians 1 even. I don't know.
Maybe.
So it's very interesting to take a look at, but I don't know until it opens. I probably expect to follow this one pretty closely, and maybe plan my trip to Disney World around it if I can. Tomorrow is possibly the day we get the Thor Love and Thunder trailer. I believe this is now holds the record for the least amount of time between trailer and movie release in Marvel history.
I guess it goes to show you just how much goes on in the world, because a couple weeks ago I said, why are people freaking out? This movie's got plenty of time. But I think I was still under the assumption that this was a November movie, because I'm so used to associating Thor with November in my mind. So I just had no idea that it was this in the middle of the year.
Yep.
So apologies to anybody out there who's frothing at the bit trying to get this movie trailer.
Well,
but
fine.
Pleasant surprise for me that I could wake up tomorrow with a trailer.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine this list because they have to sell Doctor Strange tickets first, right? Mm-hmm. My Spider-Man No Way Home Blu-ray comes in the mail tomorrow. So I'm excited for that. The press tour photo means they were filming this stuff probably last week, so they have to have like a week to edit it, right? Before it comes out. So I guarantee you a trailer will drop, the interviews and everything will drop. I'm going to sing, what do you think? Poster first tomorrow around 10 a.m. Eastern, then the trailer by lunchtime here. So you'll wake up to a trailer.
Unless they associate the trailer drop with like Jimmy Kimmel or something, then we'd get it much later. This just could be a trend overall in general, and maybe it has nothing to do with COVID, because I know this isn't a streaming movie, but all of the streamers basically are advertising their content weeks before it comes out. You'll learn about a streaming movie or TV show, and then 2 weeks later you'll be able to watch it. Mm-hmm. So is this indicative of like, are there like marketing, just psychologists out there or that are figuring out like, the attention spans with all of this media out there is getting shorter and shorter. You got to shorten your window to really get your impact. I don't. That could be it.
It could be. I also think it's overlap between Thor: Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange, and Moon Knight. Moon Knight, Doctor Strange are literally hitting each other at the same time. They just like, look, let's not overlap. Let's let this stuff breathe a little bit, because we will sell Thor: Love and Thunder tickets. We don't need to tell people a year in advance, right? And one of the cool things is that there's a new banner that came out showing Chris Hemsworth and his Thor. He's back to the long hair, got a cool blue and gold outfit. We've looked at this several times. And then Natalie Portman as the mighty Thor, as some toys have recently called her, with a reconstituted Mjolnir hammer. There's a lot going on that we don't know about. I'm loving it.
Yeah. At the end of Endgame, did Cap take Mjolnir back to where it belonged? Okay, I couldn't remember.
And you can look at this hammer very closely and see the cracks.
Yeah, so I'm curious if because we saw the hammer explode like in that open kind of cliff field area, right? That's where she blew it up. Yep. So maybe we'll have like a little bit of a scene where, didn't they pretty much go back to that locale? And they made that kind of like second new Asgard, right?
It should be close to there. I believe that's also where Odin died. I wouldn't be surprised to have like some sort of monument set up there to Odin and such.
Yeah, I could envision like a little scene where like maybe like a blacksmith or something like wanders out in the field and like picking up every piece and like put it back together. That could be fun.
Yeah, and the whole movie again, Christian Bale returning to a superhero role. As a villain is Gore the God Butcher. I'm going to throw out a little theory here, Mike.
Okay. Lay it on me.
What if Gore is something in Moon Knight? Because Moon Knight's dealing with Egyptian gods, and he might show up maybe at the end.
Maybe.
Or he's had some run-ins with the earthly gods before this.
it would be interesting for the MCU, like, somebody's going to have to put their foot down and start ranking gods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are gods that exist kind of on the earthly plane kind of lower tier gods compared to, like, these kind of, like, cosmic celestials and stuff like that? That would be kind of funny, like, to see, like, a list, right?
Well, as Captain America said in Avengers 1, there's only one god, ma'am, and he doesn't dress like that. When he saw Thor for the first time. So, yeah, there's Thor, there's Celestials, all sorts of stuff out there. The Black Panther god, right? That's a Panther god. Moon Knight's dealing with Egyptian gods. There's plenty of options. The comic books have dealt with this for years. There are rankings of these deities in the comic books already, but I'd be interested to see what they do with the MCU. End of the day, please let us have a Thor trailer tomorrow. That would make Monday that would make me so happy on a Monday. So we'll be saying next week if we're right or wrong. So knock on wood. The Echo series seems to be fueling the return of Daredevil and Kingpin to the MCU. Now, I think we're well out of spoiler territory for Hawkeye and Spider-Man, but both of these characters have shown up in Hawkeye and Spider-Man. So is Echo like a play not just on the character Echo, but Daredevil's Echo location, technique to see stuff? Maybe,
or if you want to go even more elaborate, an echo to a previous series that has already existed.
Exactly.
Right. I think I'm kind of on the record with the finale of Hawkeye that I wasn't the biggest fan of the addition of Kingpin to the show. I feel like it didn't add much for me. Vincent D'Onofrio is always great, right? I'm not saying he can't be put in something and be amazing.
Right.
I didn't personally enjoy the addition.
Well, I think it's one thing to use him. It felt more like just a throwaway nod to the Daredevil show more than an actual, like, he earned his stay here in the MCU. Because it just felt like, we already know him from the thing. This is just for fan service rather than, the Kingpin who earned his way through the Daredevil show.
It kind of feels like when you're watching like an animated version of a cartoon show for Marvel, right? Let's say you're like watching any one of the many of Spider-Man shows, right? And then all of a sudden like Wolverine pops up or something. Like, it's cool to see Wolverine, right? But like, we've gotten no backstory. He's just popping up for an episode, right? Yeah. So they could show him in the commercials for Saturday morning, right? That's kind of what it felt like. We didn't really earn that Kingpin.
Exactly. And he only fought Kate Bishop rather than actual Hawkeye as well, right? Which I would have loved to see a Hawkeye Kingpin fight than a Kate Kingpin fight, right? I feel like that feels more earned.
And I loved Kate Bishop was the best thing, in my opinion, I think, about the Hawkeye series, at least now with my kind of
you love Yelena. You love Yelena, and you know.
Oh yeah, she was like, she kind of also felt a little bit more like a cameo though, but it was a great cameo.
Yeah, she had extended. She had like 2 or 3 episodes though.
And then like Kingpin like weirdly had like unexplained powers that we like. How do you square the kind of superhuman strength that he's given in the comic books that wouldn't translate realistically to a movie? Yeah. So I don't know, but it would make sense. I had the theory at the end of Hawkeye that Echo was, brought down, at least temporarily by Daredevil in that alleyway scene that we didn't get to see, right? I think you had a different theory, so we'll see how that pans out.
I think she fired the guns, making him deaf, not killing Kingpin, but either way, the Echo show, I don't think Echo really stood out in this show as a whole, sadly. I think she's great actress, great character, but to get her own show is going to be weird, but to bring in Daredevil, Kingpin, and her into this feels like a good transition for these characters, right? To finally make them earn their way through this or explain some of the stuff rather than just giving them like, oh, you get a new Daredevil show right out the gate. So,
I mean, also not to be rude, but since Echo didn't really get a whole lot in the Hawkeye series, I don't think enough people truly fell in love with her character. So how do you get people to watch her own standalone show? You throw Daredevil and Kingpin in it so you can put them in the trailer. That's how you get people to watch it.
And you've got a history with Kingpin already, so that's great. And Daredevil had a little cameo, so there's opportunity here that I don't hate the thought of. So we'll keep you guys posted. Hopefully we'll get some more information for that show this year, because they should be filming now or soon. Probably soon. Miss Marvel. Oh, making records here, Mike. You might love this. You might hate this. I don't know. The upcoming show on Disney Plus is the first MCU property to ever be rated PG instead of PG-13.
PG. I wonder what the delineation is there, really. So she is a teenager. So, I mean, no one really ever truly swears in the MCU. They might get a couple, like, damns or maybe son of a bitches out there, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you could easily remove the swearing from it, right? To kind of get down to PG. If she's kind of using these spectral kind of punching powers, you can avoid like a lot of blood, even though we don't really get a whole lot of blood in the MCU. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what makes the MCU even PG-13? I guess it's got to be the violence that's doing it. Yeah. And I guess if you're looking at the Eternals, there is a semblance of a sexual scene. I don't think anyone's expecting Miss Marvel to a high school girl to mix it up with anybody like that. So, yeah, I can't imagine a lot went into it making it PG-13. I'm curious if it just ended up like that. They're like, just make a story that, honestly tells Miss Marvel's story. And then after they kind of like broke the season out, they were just like, oh, interesting. This is going to kind of end up being PG.
Yeah, because it's interesting because there's TV has different ratings than movies. There's TV PG and TV 14. And the only difference, I've looked this up here, is programs assigned PG rating may include infrequent coarse language, some sexual content, some suggestive dialogue, or moderate violence. Where TV 14 has intense suggestive dialogue, strong coarse language, and intense sexual situations or intense violence. So
I see. So we have to attribute this more to the TV ratings and not to the movie ratings.
Yeah, because there's TV MA, which would be very close to R, rated R kind of stuff.
Yeah, TV MA would be like Daredevil
Yeah.
and The Punisher.
Yeah.
TV 14, I would, probably closer to like, the Marvel stuff that we've been seeing stream right now.
Because there's a lot of violence and that stuff, and So I think TV PG rating for a show with someone, I think our youngest character thus far, right? I think even younger than Spider-Man was when he was introduced. But he was introduced in violent movies. It's fine. This doesn't. I don't think it affects the show at all. But
also, it could be on an episode basis too. Maybe some of these more intense episodes toward the end of the season increased to PG-14 could be a possibility.
Yeah. It's very exciting. My wife can talk about she's a 5th grade teacher, can talk about PG-13 or TV-14 stuff with her kids. If they watch them outside of the school, but she can actually now show Miss Marvel in the school system because it's PG, meaning anyone.
I sense a pizza party with Miss Marvel in that class's future.
Well, that's what I'm pushing for. I'm like, what can we do? How can we get Marvel in the school systems a little more? So she was very excited to hear that it was a PG rated show that she can actually show when she gets back to fall, because this is coming out in the summer. So, cool. Good. If anyone's watching for their kids, that's good to know too. Disney Plus is doing something weird. This is not really in our normal wheelhouse, but I think it'll affect us down the road. They're moving their Dancing with the Stars, a live-action series, to Disney Plus for live-action streaming this fall from the channel ABC.
So this isn't, the content's not being mirrored. This isn't like SNL that like shows up the next day like on Hulu or Peacock. We're taking it off of ABC entirely.
Yes, and it will be streaming live on Disney Plus, weirdly enough.
I mean that's a bold move, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of streaming services are trying to kind of court people with live sports games. I know Apple in their last keynote they had like a big announcement about like baseball. But yeah, this is a big deal, right? I don't think a lot of people yet still associate like a streaming app with live television.
Yeah, well, I kind of do. Paramount Plus has a live feature. I don't know if you had that on your version, but I can watch live TV on Paramount. Hulu is known for having a live component, right? If you pay extra for it.
Yeah.
But Disney Plus, I never thought we'd get live content. I always thought like we get scripted content or like a full service kind of thing. So what's interesting to me is this the step for Disney Plus to start promoting live streaming? Meaning, if this works on Disney Plus, we're integrating Hulu into Disney Plus very quickly.
Maybe, or even I mean, I know this isn't quite live, but think about like YouTube videos, how you can debut them instead of just uploading them. Like, I would love to have a little bit more kind of cultural zeitgeist around some of these premium streaming shows, right? Like, it seems like all of the conversation and hot takes are already ready to go by the time I wake up. Because this dropped at like midnight. I would still love for these shows to like drop at a more normal hour so I can kind of see it trending on Twitter, join in the conversation, see what people are saying.
And when I say live, I apologize. This is pre-recorded content, just debuted live on Disney Plus. So it's not. I don't think Dancing with the Stars streams live, right? I think it's pre-recorded, like similar to The Bachelor, those movies that are supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe they're just using this as a testing ground of like what happens when a lot of people hit our app at the same time, right? It could be a strategy thing to drop, like a Star Wars or a Marvel thing at midnight because you're not getting a huge rush all at once. People kind of come to it throughout the day when they have time. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe their server, like I'm sure Disney has great servers. They bought an entire streaming company so they could build their architecture for their streaming service on top of it. But even the best servers can't always handle like a mass load people running at it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to kind of see what this looks like. What time do they play it? Stuff like that. ABC is not in trouble. If anyone's curious, they literally got a new contract with Monday Night Football. So they have to show 2 games instead on Mondays, which were Dancing with the Stars would normally be. So football is definitely going to be a live streamed over the air kind of thing for a while, and Dancing with the Stars moving to a streaming service is, I think, again, very much a step towards I think Hulu integration. I think we're a couple years away from just one app to do Disney Plus and Hulu for hopefully one low bundled price. The Ahsoka show, Mike, I sent this to you actually before the show, and I don't normally do that with some of these show notes, but this was very interesting. They have tapped an Oscar-winning director, the co-director of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, actually, Peter Ramsey, to direct at least one episode of Ahsoka, the TV series.
I think this is great. I'm curious if this is a strategic move from Dave Filoni, because the animation industry is very tight-knit, and I'm sure they know each other. I think they're in kind of comparable ages, right? So they would be kind of like peers. So I love this trend though, right? Because we've seen a similar trend in the past, right? Of bringing on like horror directors, right? People that are used to kind of small budgets, being scrappy, and then kind of giving these larger budgets, and making these big movies. And honestly, with as much visual effects and like pre-production now that goes into these live action series, hiring an animation director who is familiar with that is great. They're already used and familiar to like a pipeline. They understand that probably a lot of these sequences are already getting storyboarded, right? Because in live action you don't always have to storyboard everything that you do, depending on the director that's involved.
When you look at Peter Ramsey, he actually storyboarded a shit ton of live action movies, from Predator 2, the original Mortal Kombat, Men in Black, Independence Day, Fight Club, Minority Report. Even like this guy has most of his history is in storyboard artist before moving into second unit directing and then eventually directing, which is fantastic. I think he's got a rich history, like you said, that kind of like Dave Filoni, right? Started in animation, moved to live action. This guy's doing the same thing along the way.
And it's great to see these kind of like invisible walls in Hollywood come down, right? Like kind of one of the first walls we saw was big celebrities doing TV series, right? When we entered the golden age of television, like, oh, I can do a TV show and I don't have to go out on location and shoot for 3 months. I can like stay home and travel to a studio and make a lot of money. So it's not taboo for a big celebrity to be in movies anymore. We can get like animation directors switching over to live action. So I think that's great. You tap the talent wherever it exists, right?
And I admit, my ignorance here, I always assumed Phil Lord and Chris Miller were the directors of Into the Spider-Verse. They're not. They are literally just the screenplay writers for this and producers. Bob Perschetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman, actually 3 directors directed this movie. And I should give them more credit across the board.
Yeah, but also I think that goes into like the big thing about animation is it's this huge collaborative effort. So I'm sure, the co-directors were the boots on the ground every day, making sure shots get done and, analyzing everything. And I'm sure Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they were like the type of creative producers, right, that were heavily involved, looking at the scripts, finalizing like art direction and everything like that. So I still think it is kind of holistically their movie.
Yeah.
But, they hired really good people, obviously, to direct their film because now they're moving on to do live action stuff for Star Wars. I think that's great.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to make sure, like you said, like it's a collaborative effort, and while we give them a lot of praise for it, that there are a lot more people on the ground running these things than we think of at the time, and yeah, that's good for him. Awesome. The other Star Wars bit of news we have this week is Star Wars Celebration starting to do some panel announcements. That's coming up. It's around the corner. And the first thing here is Mike's written this on his calendar. I guarantee it. The Andor trailer is rumored to debut. It's coming. We're gonna get it. Hopefully, this trailer can maybe turn our minds around a little bit. Right? We've been proven wrong by trailers in the past. So the Andor trailer, hopefully they give us something that's interesting to watch that draws us into a prequel series of a character we already know the fate of. The other thing is, it's been on my mind a little bit lately, the Bad Batch Season 2 panel. Bad Batch Season 1 debuted last summer. We've not heard anything for Season 2 yet. I know they're probably got their heads down animating this stuff, but I want to know what's going on. I gotta know what my Bad Batch dudes are up to. So I expect something from that. But I think the big thing here is the rumor / news, whatever this falls under, is that Jude Law has nabbed a leading role in an upcoming Star Wars streaming service, presumably the High Republic era show for this. So Jude Law, probably one of the best parts of the Fantastic Beasts series. He was in Captain Marvel as the villain. He's all over the place here. I think
he's getting work. He's the young Pope.
Yeah.
On HBO. I don't know. I've never watched the show. It's just really funny because he's supposed to be like a young, sexy Pope, and I just think that's hilarious. But Jude Law out there getting work. Good for him. Great actor. The High Republic, waiting to see something like that in live action to see what the hell it ends up looking like.
It was funny because if you look at Jude Law in his Dumbledore attire, he looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? If you put like a cloak on him, he like easily be a Jedi like in this. So
yeah.
Do you see him as a villain or as an early Jedi?
I mean, and I feel like Jude Law kind of has like that higher class, upper crust kind of aura to him in general. And when I think of the High Republic, I don't know much about it, but isn't it kind of like that kind of peacetime in the galaxy a little bit before shit really got crazy and there was a lot more societal structure?
Well, it was I wouldn't say that far. It was like 2,000 years before the episode 1. So like the Jedi are out, doing good things in the galaxy. They're not war people. They're not they're out trying to explore and do more stuff rather than lead the armies.
I think regal is the word I'm looking for. Like it seems like a more of a regal time, so they're bringing in a regal actor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's got a huge history of film across it, but I mean, I could totally see him being a Jedi of that era easily. Possibly even like an arrogant kind of Jedi, like I'm on the council and I'm, but like more than a bad guy, because he kind of was the bad guy in Captain Marvel, right? Like as Jan Rog. So I'd like to see him swing the other way for this. But I mean, Star Wars Celebration always gonna be huge. My guess is do you think we'll see any Ahsoka footage? I mean, that's kind of like the next big show for me, right? Other than The Mandalorian, which we know is coming.
Well, I think we're still really hoping for more follow-up, right, from a couple years ago when we saw that big Disney Plus and they announced 1,000 Disney Plus Star Wars things, right? So any sort of follow-up to that would be satisfying.
Yeah, especially the movie, the what's her name, the Wonder Woman director movie after the absolutely tragedy that 84 was.
Am I totally misremembering this? But is Taika Waititi working on a Star Wars movie?
Yep, he's got a movie that's untitled.
That's what I thought. Man, there's been so much in the movie space.
Yeah,
you can't keep track of it.
And it's just all radio silence from Star Wars, right? Until their celebration panels. So maybe we'll get a good Disney Plus day or Disney. Is it D23 year? for panels.
Yeah, that'll be like in September, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, maybe we'll get some stuff around then, because I think that was when they did the last stuff. So very, very excited for more Star Wars Celebration around the corner. Aqualad, are you familiar with Aqualad? I think he was in a couple animated shows, right?
I mean, he's kind of one of the main characters in the Young Justice animated series. He's kind of like one of the anchors.
So they're looking to do a live-action origin story on HBO Max for him, with Charlize Theron producing, like brought to you by her, like very involved in this. They're looking for like a 1-hour comedy-based show based on the graphic novel, which is his origin of You Brought Me the Ocean. I don't know if you're familiar with this one or not. The biggest thing here that's probably going to draw a lot more headlines than it should is Aqualad is one of the openly gay superheroes in the DC Pantheon. Shouldn't affect who he is. He is also not the son of Aquaman, right? I believe he's in somebody else who developed abilities over time. So, this is interesting. I didn't expect an Aqualad series to kind of come out of the works there.
Yeah, I wonder if this ties into the kind of Atlantean world that they've already created in, Jason Momoa's series, or is this supposed to be like a separate universe? Like, since it's technically called the Worlds of DC. Like I've said before, like I'm always interested in how you visually portray underwater scenes. So, maybe this show will have an opportunity to do something visually a little bit different, which could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm down for this. This does kind of seem like a strategy that HBO Max has been doing, right? Like the second that they have anything that's going well, like on the cinema side of things, let's spin this off into 1,000 HBO Max things. So this seems par for the course for their strategy.
That is right. What series do we have with an actor who isn't canceled yet? Aquaman. Well, there's the Amber Heard thing, but that's a whole different story. But sure, let's do Aqualad. I believe also in the maybe it was in the comics, maybe it was in the show. You can find out that he's actually the son of Black Manta. Is that correct?
I don't quite remember.
So,
actually, I think that might be something that pops up in Young Justice. It's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, he might be.
Yeah, so anyway, great. It sounds like it could be, if they do his origin where he's like in New Mexico, it's going to be very dry, a lot of water, but if they go down that road, they have the water flowing hair effects from Aquaman to throw into this. So Aqualad series coming to HBO Max down the road. The Flash. Good Lord. We talked a little bit about this last week, but Warner Brothers may or may not have hit pause literally on all Ezra Miller projects going forward.
This is what happens when you double down on one actor a little bit too much.
Yeah, and this
it's 1 point of failure for like 2 franchises right now.
Exactly, and so he is in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, so he will be a main character in the upcoming Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. But they've recast what's his name, Grindelwald, like 3 times, so might as well recast I forget what this character's name even is in that. Is it like Credence? I believe
Credence, yeah, I think so. But I don't think he's technically Credence after the second one. I think he gets like a new name,
like a secret Dumbledore kid or something like that, like his brother. And then, of course, he's Flash, and he's playing Double Flash in the upcoming Flash. So he has recently been arrested in Hawaii for some disorderly conduct. He was bailed out by this couple he was staying with, who then he filed a restraining order against him because he threatened to kill them.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
This is almost like Hollywood nostalgia, right? Like, this is what actors used to do before, all of, like, things like sexual assault allegations or racism or, like, homophobia was, like, the new vogue for bad things that they did. This almost seems like child's play in a way, even though it's bad, right? You definitely should not be doing these things to people, but it's just weird. Usually you expect the worst headlines nowadays, right, for really, really bad things. But I feel like an actor, like, causing a scene at a bar is kind of like, don't they do that all the time? But they just, like, usually pay the people off so it doesn't hit the page 6, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so as a young, kind of not child actor coming to fruition, you get one of 2 choices. You either get a nice, orderly Timothée Chalamet, or you get Ezra Miller. So yeah, I don't know. I think I don't think this will cause any problems for the Flash, but they have it out at the end of Flash. If he travels through time enough, maybe the Flash that comes out the other side is a different actor if they need him to.
But also, I would say this is more indicative of what's the long-term plans for Ezra Miller at Warner Brothers. Yeah, like you bring up, like, is this dude just too much of a hassle to work with? We don't like the headlines. Like, maybe even behind the scenes, maybe he's just not the most professional on set. Sounds like he could have an issue with drinking if this was happening at a bar. Did he have one too many is this a one-time thing, or is this a common occurrence? So this could just kind of be more of like the first clue of like, oh wow, they're not making they killed his character off in the next like Fantastic Beasts movie. That why would they do that? So who knows? But yeah, I feel like we've seen worse from celebrities, and they still continue to work, sadly.
Yeah,
so,
and then was it last year, 2 years ago, he choked out a fan as well. Like this guy's got it's not just a one-time event. He's got a history of being kind of weird and unruly. So we'll see what happens here. If they did or did not hit pause, I don't know. He's still a money-making kind of dude. But we'll let you know more later. Umbrella Academy. This has been a topic I've seen in some circles here. Elliot Page, previously Ellen Page, played a character, sister in the Umbrella Academy. With the transition from Ellen Page to Elliot Page. He the question is, has he become will they continue to play Vanya, or will they move to a new character? Well, confirmation from Umbrella Academy, Vanya will become Victor Hargreaves in the upcoming season 3 of Umbrella Academy. So they've worked this transition into the show, which is great, good for them. Go ahead.
I was going to say, not too surprising. I was actually on Gerard Way's Wikipedia page the other day, the frontman for My Chemical Romance and the writer and creator of the Umbrella Academy comic book series. He's also a producer on the show, so I'm sure he's creatively involved as well. But he has nothing but like support and compassion for the trans community. Like, I was reading some quotes on his Wikipedia page about it. So after reading that, going into that, like, oh yeah, it's no surprise that like they would be all about incorporating this into the plot. And the show has always been kind of really progressive about just identity in general, whether it's like superpower related or just whatever when it comes to like family. But I think honestly, like, it's great that they're doing this, but the craziest thing about this link is that there's a cube of meat next to it.
so Vanya has always been number 7, right? In the Umbrella Academy. In the new season, they come back to the future, and there's a Sparrow Academy with their counterparts. So their counterparts, their number 7 is actually Christopher Hargreaves, who is a telekinetic cube of unknown origin. So
it looks like flesh according to this screenshot.
I see. It looks like blood, flesh, necrotic rot, even around the corners. And I pulled a little thing, like, he can turn the room freezing cold and induce paralyzing fear. He acts as a Sparrow's consulted oracle who hands out incredible advice and serves as a family mediator. Trustworthy, loyal, and is treated by the Sparrows like any other sibling, Christopher is a force to be reckoned with. Now, is he one of the kids with powers? Is this their replacement for, I forget the monkey's name.
Monkey?
Yeah.
I don't remember either.
I feel bad. So is this their version of him? When you see the shadow at the end of season 2, you see a floating cube. So very interesting to see what this looks like and what this parallel is. Umbrella Academy for me is probably the biggest question mark because it's now based on a book that isn't written by Gerard Way yet. Right, Gerard Way? I said that right? So the Sparrow Academy is not even out. So they've got a lot of wiggle room here to surprise us with stuff, and I'm very excited to kind of see it.
Also, like, I feel like since I don't usually typically rewatch kind of like streaming series, it's been a while since I've kind of interacted with Umbrella Academy. But yeah, you do forget, like, oh yeah, it's weird. They put weird stuff in there, and it's really fun, right? Because just the source material has like crazy off the wall stuff. So seeing a meat cube, it's just like, oh yeah, this is great. I love it when they do weird stuff like this. So I'm pro meat cube.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this, it's always comparable to the Boys because they came out at the same time, competing streaming services, both very good, very fun to watch. It's just, this feels a little more like oh, this, who knows what the hell is going to happen. These characters have so many weird abilities. And the boys, I feel, is a little more predictable because it's more like a superhero kind of skewering or differentiation. So I'm very, very excited for this.
And I think sometimes people forget about the viewing juggernaut that Umbrella Academy is. You know, most people kind of are associating like, you know, Bridgertons or you know, Stranger Things, which are all really good, but like Umbrella Academy, it's a big hit. Like if you are the creator, if you're a person that works on Umbrella Academy, it's kind of one of those things where I feel like you could walk into Netflix headquarters anytime and, you know, you get pampered from head to toe before you leave, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's coming out, I believe, early June. So just a couple months away for us to watch this. So we'll keep you guys posted if more comes out about it. All right, so it's the end of the episode. The end of the episode is where we like to discuss streaming shows, if applicable. And this week we're going to talk about Moon Knight, episode 2. So if you've not seen it, you can tune out here. You're not missing any other news. Come back and listen to this later. If you have seen it, stay tuned. We're going to talk about Moon Knight. Full spoilers, full discussion ahead. So if you don't want to be ruined, get out of here. If not, we're going to jump into it right now, Mike. So episode 2, Moon Knight dropped this week.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and jump forward. I'm so glad that you put this Easter egg in here. I saw that QR code on his storage room door, and like I was into the episode, so I didn't want to pause it, but I was like, oh, I bet I can just scan that from my phone, because QR codes have weirdly enough come back around in society because now they're suddenly useful. So what's behind this QR code?
So you actually, in episode 1, there's a QR code for a Werewolf by Night, I believe number 32, and in this one is Werewolf by Night number 33, both the first and second appearance of Moon Knight. So it will take you to Marvel Comics online reader where you can read these comics for free.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So this one the first one is not as blatant. It's in the museum when he's talking to the little girl about the artifacts. This one is very blatant. Like, you can't miss this QR code in this one. I saw it, I'm like, there's a QR code for this episode. So it looks to be a trend they're going to put in to every episode this week or this season.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I had no idea there was one in the first episode, so that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. It's really cool. So this episode, I think, is really fun because I think it's again, they're not shying away from who the villain is in this movie, right? Like, usually a hero and a villain don't have an opportunity to talk out their differences. They just get to punching pretty early on. This one is very interesting. I like this episode because Ethan Hawke's character, Arthur Harrow, takes in Steven and kind of like tells him, like, here's what we're doing. We're doing good things, right? We're helping the community. Here's what, Amit wants us to do. And then you kind of find out that, he was the previous Moon Knight, the previous avatar for Khonshu. And, Khonshu is kind of a dick overall, especially in this episode.
We got a lot of lore, and I think my favorite bit of this episode is Khonshu. I love the look of the character, very imposing on the screen. I love the voice actor that's doing the voice. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring, and Khonshu looks like a character design from like a FromSoft Soulsborne game to begin with, so it's already kind of cool. His like floating bird skull. He is kind of a dick, so it seems like we're kind of showing all of these things that are pulling at our character Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
What's the timid version of his
Steven Grant.
Yeah, so Steven, he's being pulled from so many different directions. He's being pulled by Mark Spector, he's being pulled by Khonshu, he's being pulled by this villain. Now he's getting influence from his wife, but it's not technically not his wife, it's Mark's wife.
Mark's wife, yeah.
Yeah, so I like this idea that he's being pulled from all these different directions. Any sort of conflict in TV show is like where drama comes from, so that's why I'm really getting into it. And then ultimately, when all the strings start to pull tight, he turns into Mr. Knight, right?
Yeah, which is kind of it's funny because we thought Mr. Knight was going to be more of a badass, and it's just Steven in an actual nice suit. And then he pulls out the batons and like all these screenshots we saw that like, oh, Mr. Knight's gonna fight these dudes, right? And then you're like, no, it's not. It's Steven in the suit. But it's still fun because he's like, you said use the suit, and this is the only suit he could think of in his head. So it sounds like the user makes a suit based on what they need or what they perceive as being strong.
And I just like that they're kind of starting to adhere to the rules that they've created, right? Because as a viewer, you go, okay, this human body, whether or not how many personalities are in there, right? This human body was granted the gift of of the suit, right? So this person can turn it on whenever they want. It's just that Steven, right? Was that his name?
Yeah, Steven.
Steven, he just
With a
doesn't
V.
know about it, right? So once he kind of turns it on, like, he doesn't have any experience, right? So it ends up being a suit, which is kind of funny. And it makes sense, right? He has a different personality, so the suit is going to look different.
And he was able to lay like one heavy punch on the Anubis
Jackal. I don't know if you're familiar with the bit from Family Guy. I could not turn that off in my head. I spared my wife from just obnoxiously saying it over and over. Is it a jackal? Is it a jackal? It's jackal. Oh, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But so we get to see, Steven land a punch on the jackal, but he's not a fighter, right? He needs to actually be, Mark needs to be involved because Mark is a mercenary, a fighter who can take this on. So when he goes into Mark and Mark gives him control, his suit physically changes into the regular Moon Knight suit we're used to. But I think the biggest thing here is the reveal, not once but twice, but only Moon Knight, Mark and Steven can see the jackals. Nobody else sees the jackals. So like, what does that mean for these creatures that we see are there, that he's physically fighting? They splash some water on him and you can see him. So like, why are they not visible to everybody else around him? Is a big question lingered here.
I guess my assumption was going to be, so when we talk about the MCU at large, right, we're always talking about how all of this stuff came to light publicly in this version of Earth when Tony Stark announced that he was Iron Man, right? All of a sudden, this extraordinary stuff was now available to the public. But now we're starting to tread back on older kind of ancient stories, right? Like, vampires, werewolves, magic and stuff. So how do you explain the existence of all of that pre-Iron Man with people not knowing? Well, I guess one strategy could be, well, these Anubis-esque characters, these jackals, they're invisible, right? So that's why the humans have not got caught onto them and they're not like out there, in the newspapers, right? So, but also it could just be like a storytelling mechanic, Nobody believes Steven as it is now with his like multiple personalities. He definitely can't get people to believe him if the jackals are invisible. So yeah, and it could just be like a whole plane of existence thing, right? I don't know if the comic book character is similar to this, but like, in Keanu Reeves' movie Constantine, right? Only Constantine could kind of see these demons. So it's a kind of a very similar plot that we've seen before. So it's not too far of a stretch to imagine how that could work. But I thought the jackal looked really cool. We finally got to see it a little bit more in this episode.
Yep.
How it's summoned from the ground.
Yeah, and then the brutalness at which Mark dispatches it by impaling it on like a church spire kind of thing, and the visage there, like the moon in the sky, it in the air, then it turns to sand and he catches his little crescent moon fighting thing was cool. And then to see Mark and Steven kind of fight back and forth, like it's my body, whatever, so on and so forth. And it was a really interesting ending there with like the full Khonshu, like they didn't like flash between them, he was there, like that's a really good effect on that big beak skull thing for the end
and
of
I
this
think
show.
In that moment is where we learn that there seems to be hinting that like Mark Spector was doing something dangerous, was on the verge of death, and then that's when Khonshu found him. So it seems like he made a deal to save his own life. I don't know if there was any connection that he had to Khonshu before that, but it just seemed like just a bystander was dying. And then all of a sudden, well, I have a chance to stay alive if this, moon god, can work through me.
And then it also kind of leans into two things from Khonshu that are the dickish things. One is he's threatening to use his wife as the next Avatar if he gives him up, which is like, what the fuck? Sorry for my language there, but like, what? That's like, that doesn't make me like Khonshu any better. And then two, there's always, quote unquote, one more job, right? Arthur says, like, Khonshu will never give you up because there's always one last thing along the way. So it sounds like comparable to like mafia people, like you're always in our debt no matter what you do. So that I'm curious to see where this goes. When is the script going to flip and we find out Harrow is evil and Khonshu's actually doing the right thing, or will we ever find that out and we just no one in this is actually a redeemable character, not even the gods along the way.
I mean, I was saying Khonshu looked really cool. So Ethan Hawke's god, I don't remember that god's name, but isn't it supposed to be alligator-esque. Is that the kind of visual that they? Because I think his cane has like 2 alligator heads.
Yeah.
So I'm looking. I hope we get to see that. I want to see the alligator god like come to life, do something cool. Maybe Khonshu can physically battle, and like maybe there'll be like maybe like the final like action scene of the season. There'll be like a side-by-side fight of.
It's funny because Amit is actually the head of a lion or head of a crocodile. The forefront of a lion and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. So
that's badass.
I'm like, oh, you think it's just alligator or crocodiles? Wait till you hear the rest of this creature. So
we're still waiting for one more character, right? That's powered. It's not Nightman, right? Or what's the name of the character? I don't remember. It's the actor. Wasn't that the actor that unfortunately died in a skiing accident?
Yeah, I don't know if he's he might be another mercenary. I don't know if he's actually a powered person in this. He might be a mercenary name. We don't know.
Yeah, because Ethan Hawke doesn't seem to be a scrapper, right? Other people seem to be doing the dirty work for him while he like doles out the magic. So maybe he gets to put a suit on at some point in time. I don't know. Maybe all Egyptian gods come with cool suits. That could be kind of neat. So I guess we'll see. But also, you do kind of get into the trope of palette swap enemy. So if they don't go that direction, I'd be okay with it. But if you have to kind of quote unquote palette swap, at least go in the way different direction, right? Maybe Ethan Hawke's suit is like totally wild and different and not even close to the same like.
Because he's got those tattoos. That tattoo that balances the cane, right, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it could go any way based on that as well. Could he be a tattooed person rather than an actual like suited up kind of person? But I do believe Ethan Hawke will eventually get powers of some sort, maybe to be a scrappy person to fight Moon Knight, powered by Amit, and powered by again Khonshu on the other side of this. But
so far so good.
Yeah.
Enjoying it. Do we have a track on how many episodes this is supposed to be?
6.
I know I was going on and on about this.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes for this series.
Okay, gotcha. So we're almost halfway through.
Yep, we'll be halfway through next week. I think to me, it feels like episodes 1 and 2 felt like one long episode when you put them together. Like where the first one ends is great, but like this really answers a lot more questions. Like who's Mark? Who are all these people? Like the questions that were in the first episode like kind of got resolved here to set him on his journey through Arthur. So it's fine. It's good to have both these episodes together.
Yeah, we know the stakes now. We know what has to be done. We know the accomplishments. We've seen the MacGuffin compass, right?
Yeah.
We know that there's going to be a locale change coming up, and actually at the end of the episode he was in Egypt. So
he did wake up in Egypt, which is great because they can use this blackout moments to literally travel anywhere without having to show us how he got
really
there.
Convenient.
Yeah.
Great storytelling mechanic.
Yep, exactly. So Moon Knight again recommended. I can't wait to see season 3 and see what else they get. I heard episode 4 is the big one, so very excited to see the back half of this season. All right, Mike. Well, that's the show for this week. Let's wrap it up and get people on their way. If people want to know what you're doing, what you're up to, where can they find you?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87. People know about the show, what we're doing. Listen to our review of Morbius from last week. Where can they get all these good episodes at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the hub, the headquarters, the Avengers Tower, the Batcave for Superhero Slate, superheroslate.com. You can get our awesome show notes over there if you want to check back on what we talked about this week or last week or the hundreds of weeks before this, literally hundreds of weeks. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts like our own. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. We had a very, very helpful listener of the show that sent me the episode count for Halo.
Yes.
Because I was going on and on and on about I never know how many episodes there is. So thank you. I appreciate that. So reach out. We love hearing from you, and we love our super fans. So if you want to be a super fan of this here show, it's so easy to do. All you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.